Hi.
Hi. So I'm delighted to talk to you about your film, My Last Best Friend. And if it's okay, Filippo, we'll start with you because I understand you were inspired. You wrote this story following the death of a fellow friend of yours, Fernando.
Yeah, yeah. As a matter of fact, that's how we started. That and the fact that I was supposed to make another feature film, but then the pandemic came along, and then I started writing the screenplay. And my best friend influence. It was there. I could tell as I was writing the screenplay, and later on, I contacted Eric's agent, and then we took it from there.
How did it feel for you to be in this work on this project and sort of relive the pandemic?
Well, the pandemic I found very doable because I thought, while there's a flying germ out there, an airborne germ, I'll wear a mask. And when the airborne germ, goes away, I'll take the mask off. That's kind of what I would. So that's how I kind of approached the whole pandemic. I didn't worry about it. I did get COVID, but I had no symptoms. Almost at the end of the third year we had it, I got it for a week, and but I had no symptoms. Just had a positive test. And as far as in the movie goes, I was so into the movie, and the work was so difficult to do well that I didn't think about anything except my wife, my alarm clock, and my script. I mean, I was so focused that I didn't notice anything else. I guess that's the long and short of it.
You were so focused that for you it became so natural to portray these different versions of Walter.
Well, that's why I said yes to the project, is the challenge of playing those two guys and playing them completely differently. So it wasn't, the same guy doing different dialogue to each other, and making it work. And I saw I had somebody who could lead me in my boss, Filippo. And so I depended on him, and he was there for me, and we made a pretty good movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, Filippo, how do you feel when Mr. Roberts says boss?
Wanted to turn around and see if Bruce Springsteen walked in. He uses the word boss a lot. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's very flattering, yeah, I'm quite satisfied with the final outcome. And as a matter of fact, sometimes to go back at what Eric just mentioned, I was actually reading the other guy's lines because, of course, he had to play the two characters, but he needed somebody to read the lines for timing. So, yeah, it was an experience. It was definitely an experience to live.
Was it originally the plan to include the pandemic as you were writing the script? It sounds like you were doing it during the pandemic, or?
Yep. I'm assuming that the question was for me.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's for you.
Yeah, to tell the honest truth, I firstly I had the idea in 2019, but I didn't write the screenplay back then, and I knew that I wanted to write a screenplay about these two identical-looking men living under the same roof, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, I don't want to spoil the movie. And one of them eventually has to get sick. I feel like I can share that because it's in the trailer. And as the pandemic came along, eventually I wrote the screenplay and I had to incorporate COVID into the story. So it was not originally planned like that, but it happened by serendipity, I guess.
So you had a different plan for the ending.
At first, yes. At first, the original ending was much different, and I don't know how much I can say about that.
I want to know because I was curious.
No, don't give it away, boss.
Sorry, can do. Let's just say that the original ending was more selfless. That's all I can say.
Well said. Good.
Okay, I will just wonder for the rest of my life. Eric, which version of Walter did you enjoy playing the most?
When you're under that kind of pressure to play two completely different personalities. You're completely invested in both. You don't have a favorite. They're like your kids. You like them both. You're better on certain like days, but you love them both equally. You love them both endlessly. Well, it's the same with everybody I play. Everybody I play belongs to me. I feel I own them, and so I'm like very possessive over my characters, and I love them both. I mean, even when I play creeps, and I play a lot of creeps, I like fall in love with my guys because they don't know they're creeps. They think they're fine. So I like all my guys. I don't have favorites.
You talk about the scenes where you're playing like you have COVID, the cough and the whole, but yet still has that oh, it's honky dory, little phrases like that that Walter still has a sense of humor.
Well, I think all of us who all caught COVID, we knew we weren't going to die, at least after the first go around. We knew we weren't going to die, and it was just an inconvenience. It was not a big deal. And so that's how I played it also as a character.
Filippo, did you really have Eric do an audition for you?
Audition is a big word. I really knew that he could pull it off. I contacted his agent and I was hoping that he was available, quite frankly. Then, yeah, we did a rehearsal, but I wouldn't go as far as to call it an audition because I
auditioned for everything. I auditioned for Righteous Gemstones. I auditioned for everything. I want my boss to know who he's hiring.
At the same time, yes, I wanted him to play the two characters. We did it on Zoom online at some point. I wanted to see if I really knew that he could do it, but still I wanted to see it for myself, and I was blown away. It was even better.
And also from my end, I had to show him what I was thinking, so he could say, "No, I'm not interested in that translation. No, well, I want something else." So we had to know we could work together. So that was also part of it, because it's very hard with the assignment that he gave me is very difficult, and so I had to be able to lean on him, and I had to know that I could lean on him, and I found that out in the process, before we ever started shooting.
So it sounds, Filippo, like you had Eric in mind from the beginning. What is it about him that told you he was the one to play the part?
I had a feeling that he could do it, and I was pleased to find out that I was right. Because of his career, because of his maybe his filmography, is a very versatile actor. It fits the definition of a chameleon from an acting standpoint. Is played a whole variety of remarkably different characters, from Runaway Train to It's My Party and Start 80. I mean, I knew that if there was a guy who could play the two characters, it was Eric. I knew that much.
Thanks.
Was there a reason why you picked New York?
Because I live here. I knew that I could film here. I had access to certain locations. Like one of the executive producers was the main location provider. Also, I had to find other locations for myself, and I do live. I live in Queens, so yeah, that's the reason. And aside from that, I love New York. Quite frankly,
it's a film-friendly city.
It is. It is a film-friendly city. Look, can we talk about the scene that's on the rooftop?
What about it?
I feel like that was one of the scenes that kind of opens up the friendship. Can you talk about that scene?
She's right, boss. Talk to her about it.
Well, thank you. In that scene, we up until that point, the dynamics between the two characters is very much in the line of some kind of odd couple type of relationship. Like I wanted to sound kind of like a modern day Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon. And but they keep it funny, they keep it cute. In that scene, everything changes. We find out that Walter is being a little more nosy than he was supposed to be, and he knows things about the other Walter's past that he wouldn't necessarily want for people to know, and that of course leads to a confrontation between the two, and the famous punch scene. Which was very fun to shoot, by the way. I have Eric Roberts punch Eric Roberts. I don't know, that was precious, and yeah, that was a challenging scene under technically and also from an acting standpoint. It was very intense for Eric, and I think he pulled it off.
Thank you, boss.
Of course, there's no surprise for you to pull it off, Eric. But how was it for you playing that shooting those scenes?
You know, that's such a broad question because while I'm in it, it's like a really good long kiss. You kiss and it's sparks, and then it gets into it, and then it's a part of your whole physicality suddenly, and then the kiss breaks, and well, that's what it's like in what I do. You get a spark, and then you get to live it, and then you get to breathe, and yeah, that's what I do every day.
With the character of the more serious Walter, we get a sense like he lives sort of lonely, although he's with his best friend, but he's still like a lonely life. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I feel like I see it when he's with the lady.
Well, he's unparented. He has an eating disorder and all kinds of backstory stuff that doesn't add up to a hill of beans except to play it. Because if you bring all this stuff up, it's like, well, how would I know that? You wouldn't. But that's what he is. He is unparented. He has raised himself, and he has an eating disorder. And that's kind of him in a nutshell. And when you have an eating disorder, it's because you're crying for help, but you're pretending you don't need it. So that's where he's at.
So, Filippo, what made you add all these little things?
If I can lead back to the scene that you mentioned, Nancy, the scene where the other Walter, he visits the character of Jennifer, played by actress Adrienne Laurent. Those scenes we shot them later on after the first bout of principal photography had wrapped up. At first, it was an 80-minute long feature film. Then we decided to film extra scenes because you are right. He is a very lonely character and he's a very mysterious character, and there is a reason for that. And if you watch the movie, in the end, it all makes sense. But at the same time, we figured that we needed to give him something more, somebody that he can relate to, somebody that he could talk to beyond the other Walter Stoyanov. And but yeah, we wanted it to be a very tragic character, if you will.
And by the way, Eric, for the eating disorder part, my theory was because, and maybe I'm a little familiar in that aspect, unfortunately, maybe sharing too much, but sometimes it kind of grows because you have no control on so many things in your life. And then there's this one thing that you do have control of. And that's where I thought maybe it was coming from.
Well, that is the answer to what brings on an eating disorder. Yes. And that is what happened. Yes. And that is what that was the one thing he could control. Yes. All that is true.
Now, overall, this film is about friendship and what makes a best friendship. But there's no real correct type of friendship, right? I think it all works in its own way, how it works for both individuals.
Who goes?
Filippo?
Well, I wanted to analyze the concept of friendship and by showing the most unusual kind of friendship. And in answer to your question, I think the real kind of friendship is the selfless kind. You don't want nothing in return, but you want to help this person. You feel a genuine brotherly love towards this person, as we see in the movie. At the same time, if you watch the movie, and that's what the movie is all about, one of the two Walters come to a point, to a crossroad where he has to make a decision, and I'm not gonna spoil it, of course. And then we find out what kind of friend he really is. And that's pretty much the point of the movie.
That is the point. That is it.
And that's why I wanted to know the original ending, because I think that would open up to more of my theory of the friendship.
I'll tell you someday, I promise.
Okay, well, I guess it'll be. Well, thank you so much for talking to me about this film.
Sure.
Thank you, Nancy, for having us.
I love these films, these indie films that just really are making you think, and wonder, and has our imagination just going.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Nancy. Appreciate it.